Solo a GA with Mountaintop and Hammerhead. This video is going to show you how to get Platinum rank solo in the Lake of Shadows Grandmaster Nightfall whilst using Brave Weapons, Hammerhead Mountaintop, and we use Polaris Lance as well, just so that the run isn't too long. And we can showcase some of these Brave Weapons off in a Grandmaster environment. Lake of Shadows being I wouldn't say it's the best Nightfall to test stuff with, but that's what's up this week, I suppose. So once the Cabal enemies are killed, taken enemies will spawn on that right-hand side. You need to back right up as soon as that happens, unless you're doing the Infinite Restoration fixed odds strategy with a healing grenade. Then you can push aggressive and kill them all with that machine gun. But we're using Hammerhead because there's no point in me using fixed odds. You've saw me use fixed odds all season. Plus, we've just gotten Hammerhead this week, so I figured it would be a good time to showcase Hammerhead off in a solo GM environment. I have not had a good roll apart from the stock roll that you get. This is the stock roll. 4 times the charm, kill and tally. Can you use it in GMs? Definitely. It's half decent at what it does. The problem is, it's not the best at a given playstyle. So there's 2 playstyles with this machine gun. It's add clear or damage to champions. Notice I said damage to champions. I didn't say DPS because when people say DPS and machine guns, some people have a seizure. I don't know why. You can certainly DPS with machine guns in the game, right? I don't know why you think that you can't. Obviously you can. And I know this because I've been using Retrofit Escapade for years. And that roll is 4 times the charm, target lock. Guess what? 4 times the charm, target lock will work on Hammerhead. Great. It'll just be a sub-variant of Retrofit. It'll just be slightly different to Retrofit. It'll be a slower firing Retrofit. That is it. Very good. The other role will be Kill and Tally, Rampage, or Destabilizing Rounds, a double damage style perk. Those are the 2 roles I would recommend for this gun. You can use the stock roll if you want, if you can't bother to farm Hammerhead, but I think Hammerhead's a very important machine gun to the game. It isn't as good as the Deepstone Crypt LMG. Granted, it isn't, but you're still going to want it, alright, because it's unique enough. Now, you saw that we stunned the Unstoppable Champion with Polaris. We then killed him with a debuffed fusion grenade and Mountaintop, which it melted him. Right, Mountaintop melts champs. So Mountaintop's a very good weapon to use in Grandmasters, and you want to start using it. It's not novelty. It's not me messing around. Mountaintop is just really good in the game because of overall use and single target damage that it does per shot, per single shot, that is. With the Unstoppable Champion, when the enemies drop from that ship, that enemy spawn, if you kill them all, you get taken enemies. To stop that from happening, leave one of them alive. Don't let it be the Unstoppable, because that's too hard for you to control. Have it be a red bar enemy. Let it be the dog if you want it to be. We're then going to nade to our right, machine gun to in our front. We're going to kill some of the odds, and then we're going to pop a sub when we get around 80%. He could have popped before then. It doesn't matter. But our goal is to collect the splinter or the payload or whatever the damn ship thing's called. Collect it. Don't kill, unstop. This will then again skip another taken enemy spawn, which will save you bags of time. Right? If you do all of this properly, you should be doing it solo in 3 minutes. I was actually really slow on this. But it's because I'm using Hammerhead and it slows things up a little bit. If I used fixed odds, I'd be supercharged and I'd go a little bit quicker. But that's not what the video is always about. It's not always about us going maximum speed in every encounter. Because if I did do that, you wouldn't learn nothing. So this section here, you got 2 snipers, focus those. You can spam Mountaintop quite a bit. Now my roll is by no means a god roll. Okay? So if you comment and say, what the hell slick do I do it on your Mountaintop? I know, dude. Can't get the roll, can I? Right? What I want is implosion rounds with the hard launch or quick launch. I think it's hard launch. Right? And impulse amplifier and Vorpal weapon or frenzy. Right, but I've at least got frenzy on this one, and it makes all the difference because frenzy grants that reload. It's a 15% damage bonus, right? So is Vorpal on a special weapon, so it's the same damage bonus as a Vorpal, and frenzy is just fantastic on Mountaintop. Now, I tried recombination, and I know people are going to say recombination's the best Mountaintop roll. I can honestly tell you it isn't, because I've tested it today. It front loads your damage, but then it ends up making me play so passive that I barely use. Look at this melt. Look at the melt. Look at the melt. It means when you use recombination, right, you want to get 10 stacks. Yeah? Well, that's a good bit until you get your 10 stacks in a GM to then use it on a champ. And you will melt a champ. But why not just fire 3 grenade launcher frenzy shots instead of 10 times recombination? Then your next shot is not buffed and your next shot is not buffed. So recombination is a unique playstyle, and it only has a place, in my opinion, in DPS style rotations that people show off on YouTube and then wipe, and you're like, why have you wiped? This isn't right. You know, that's what it's for. It's to show off for people to say, look at this damage, it's really good. And then no one ever uses it. And people just comment on YouTube saying, oh, it looks good, that. I'll just stick to my Vorpal roll, though. Do you know what I mean, though? That's what it is. I've tried recombination. It's good. It's not that it's bad. It's just that it means that we end up playing far too passively with the GL because you don't want to spend it. You're like, I'm at 5 stacks. I'm not firing my GL. I need 10 stacks for the next champ. But the next champ's not 2 minutes away, so you've spent 2 minutes not firing your GL. So then it defeats the purpose of having Mountaintop on in the first place. So this is perk up time, and you need to listen to this properly because no one's damn listening to me and I'm going insane over it. Perk up time. You need to look at perk up time. Vorpal weapon is 100% perk up time on anything other than a red bar. Frenzy is 100% perk up time once you're in combat. Recombination is a 10% perk uptime. Perk. Get it? So, the pro is you get a massive damage shot. After that, you with your pants down, you've got no buff. And quote me on it. And that's it. So, Vorpal, Frenzy is your GM Mountaintop. That's what you want. You don't want anything else other than those 2 end perks. And then it's open for debate what you have on the first column. Because there's a lot of good things. Demolitionist, auto and holster, impulse amplifier, etc, etc, etc. So the first column's up for debate, but the second column isn't. I'm sorry, it's Vorpal Frenzy. And you're going to say, Vorpal's old-fashioned. Well, yeah, so are you. You're old-fashioned for saying that. It's in the game still. I'm going to use Vorpal. Just because Dato's trying to spread misinformation about Vorpal doesn't mean it's absolutely correct. It just means that it's him that has a personal problem with Vorpal. I don't want to have a personal problem with it because I'm me and you are you. Have your own opinion. Don't let Dato override your opinion. Vorpal is fantastic on special weapons because of its uptime, because of its ease of use, of its perk uptime, etc, etc. So with this section, with the turrets and stuff, you can use the ship as cover. As you saw me just did there. The right turret's dangerous. The left turret you can sort of head glitch them a little bit, but you got to be careful. It isn't solar threat, it's arc threat. Right, that is the resistance, but you want to use void resist on the plate. I did show you my build at the start. There'll be a dim link, so there'll be no excuses for all that sort of stuff. Resistance mods are arc resistance, void resistance, concussive dampener. You need all of those 3 together to make sure that you stop. You have a plan B if you have that resistance. Because if you are caught and hit, which you see I get caught quite a bit because I'm rusty on Lake of Shadows, then your resistance will save you. This is like protective light almost. Not in this traditional sense that we're putting that mod on. It's to the point of it's a backup card, right? If all else fails, resistance kicks in. Because if you run double arc resist, that is good and all, but you're not up against that much of arc enemies, to be honest. It's the void that's the trouble in this GM. It's void. And solar a bit. Solar is a bit of a problem, but not too much, because we have an answer for that, and it's a super. So you've just saw I use my super there. I recommend that you do just before on that Cabal dropship, because by the time we complete the Centurions, yeah, if you play it a little slower, so I'm doing this on purpose, by the way, we're going to have a super for the Knights, because the Knights are deadly, right? So rather than try to Polaris them, which is going to be good if you get your ignition shot off, but bear in mind, that's 5 hits before you can get that ignition off. That's a long amount of time to wait to then start killing these Knights. So I don't recommend you take them out with guns unless you got fixed odds on you, then fair enough. Right? So we'll pop a super and a nade and just melt them all with super, because we don't need our super, right, for a bit. So it's a really good place to... This speeds things up a little bit. Taking enemies. Yep, that old chestnut teleporting out of my mountaintop. That's not Mountaintop's fault. That's just the design of the enemy. So we'll collect the next payload till 85%, and then it's dogs and a champ. Champs and like barrier champions in this are a super. They're a snooze fest. They're really easy. Even if I didn't have Polaris Lance on, because of how powerful the Revitalize and Blast and the fact that solar melees are attached to Radiant, that gives me barrier rounds. I could literally kill him with a machine gun, right? So it's not a problem, barriers. So don't worry about barriers in this. It's unstoppables that are a little bit more difficult, because you don't have base unstop. You have unstoppable via ignition, which is a different type of unstop, as opposed to, say, unstoppable scout, unstoppable bow. It's not a true stop. They will damage you whilst they are stunned. Right now, I think most of us should know this, that it's a little different, because especially this season. Because why is Polaris Lance matter? Well, there's not even any scout mods up. The reason why is because there's ignition built into it, right? And because of how Radiant works this season, you can get barrier and unstop in the gun, and that's why it's meta in GMs. Plain and simple, that's why it is. Take away the Radiant from it, right? Then it's not as good. But it's still going to be decent. But it might not be the option that we all choose in Fellowship, to be honest. I wouldn't think so. I don't think they're going to do solar mods again. Not they will, but they won't. We don't know how the artifact mod system's going to work, and etc. They haven't revealed all that, but it's going to be entirely different in Fellowship. I think the game's going to go through a huge change. It's going to be the difference between D2 Vanilla and Forsaken in terms of how different it is. That's what's going to end up happening. So forget about everything you know, because everything that you know is going to change. So don't try to, get ahead early, try and do builds for Fellowship. Forget about all that stuff. Enjoy the expansion first, right? Enjoy the first week. You will soon quickly find out what the new builds are for Prismatic. I haven't even read the stuff, and I'm not gonna, because it's more organic for me to just go and learn it when that expansion comes out, and I'm right at it, right on it. But right now, conserve energy, don't think about that stuff, because a lot of you just overthink it, because you can't wait to play Fellowship, so you like to go and ready to go and express yourself, shall we say. Listen, just wait. It's 6-7 weeks away. You're all right. Just settle down. You can't do Prism. We can't glitch Prism out yet and play it. So you just have to simmer down. Just play the game as it is right now. Do your bounty prep. That's all you need to do. Don't worry about Prismatic until it comes out. This phase, we're waiting for wizards. Now, there's a couple of exploits. There's the building exploit, and then there's the back of the map exploit where the sea is. Now, I didn't choose to do any of them because I just found that it was no problem just to do it like this. The build and exploit would probably be the next best thing for me, but it's awkward on phase 2. The build and exploit, that is. Right? If you don't know what I refer to, go and watch Kia Play's run. He will show you how to do that. Exactly. I'm just saying that I think that strategy works fine for me on phase 1. But on phase 2, when the boss does the big blights that come at you, right, the Horman blights, then on phase 2, the build and exploit is no good to me. If you don't have a clue what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. Just repeat what I'm doing here then, if that's the case. So we get the boss to half HP. We need to then take out the tether points. Now, you'll get 2 for free, generally. Sometimes 3 if you're lucky, as in you'll shoot them from back here. Yeah? Like here I'm getting quite lucky with RNG. Be careful of the taken on the floor. Now, the taken on the floor is really buggy on this boss fight. It is really buggy. Just be careful. But we can sort of, as I say, fight from here. And it's fine. Once you sort of know the pacing of the meatball and what not to... Here's the build and exploit, by the way. You would jump up another 2 layers and then DPS in from up there. But honestly, like, it's fine for phase 1. I recommend maybe have a go at it on phase 1. But phase 2, I don't think it's worth it because the Horman blights, I just don't like being shot by them up there. It's as simple as that. So you can see that we can easily do it from here. We're going to push up, take both blights out or the tether points with machine gun. Right, then we do some debuffs and then super with Dawn Chorus. We're not going to spend all our super on the boss. We are looking for exit point. So the Roman super has done 2 things for us. It has edged the boss to a 3rd HP. It's done really good damage, but it's also give us a exit point. You'll see me use Roman supers in this way to gain advantage of staying alive solo when otherwise we should not be staying alive. And this has been used ever since in D2, I would say Pyramidion. The first time I ever saw anyone sort of use a super in an advanced way, a Roman super, was Esoteric. Striker time, Pyramidion. He collected the plates with the super, right? This is going back, way back when, right? So it was established, he established that all the way back then, that Roman supers are not just considered for DPS. Because people make a joke about them and say, you can't DPS with this super, you can't DPS with Fist of Havoc. Yeah, dude, that's not the idea or the identity of the super. The super is for other uses, and it's perfect in GMs where odds hit hard, and you need to maybe cap a plate and survive. A Roman super is a panic button. It's a lot of things, and you can use them with a lot of strategy. And this strategy is being lost by a lot of yous because yous are just running like T-Crash, Pyrogale Gauntlets, Golden Gun Hunter. Yous are running the one-shot style supers, Nova Bomb. Like, embrace Nova Warp and embrace the Roman supers because there's a lot of power in them and they've buffed all of them. They're all actually good now in the game and have been for quite some time. Even Fist of Havoc to some point. I used that in Glassware solo GM. So what more do you want to justify of Fist of Havoc's not being good? Now, sometimes, granted, you don't run Fist of Havoc's, you run T-Crash. It all depends on what you're doing. The answer is all depends. There's not a one answer for everything. There's not one glove that fits everything. So our ammo economy here. So the ammo economy of Hammerhead, it's decent. It's an adaptive frame LMG. It does well. I've got Void Holster on as well, which is good. Means that I can just keep stowing it in reloads. You've got to use holster mods nowadays. If your holster mod works with your heavy weapon, especially in GMs, use them. Especially if it's a weapon that you pull out and put away. Like right here, it's a good time to use LMG because the adds push you. The greater in number they are, the more likely they are to push. But look, we're down to the last major. He runs away. He's scared. His comrades are dead. So this mechanic you got to remember as well, which you would never spot this mechanic in a fire team run ever, because the aggro would be split between all of you, and it'd be impossible impossible nearly to distinguish this AI pattern unless you run solo. This is what I've been saying for years. You've got to go in, even if you just go in solo on a GM just to learn the enemy spawns to help your fire team runs. You should definitely do that, because if you're Last Guardian standing, right, in a GM, you can pull out your solo mode. I pull it out generally, right? I can pull that solo mode out. I've got it. It's built in me. But if I'd never practiced the solo GMs, I would never be able to sort of pull off those miraculous Last Guardian stand-ins, get the resis, and then move on. You know, so that skill set, even the best of fire teams can still wipe at times. And if none of them have soloed at all, or maybe only one of them have, you know, if things go wrong in a new GM, like a day one new GM, then those players suffer because they don't have that enhanced knowledge of what can we do here, what can we do there to sort of salvage the run. And I'm on about day one new GMs, because they're going to come with final ship. We will get new day one, you know, new week one, day one GMs. And that stuff, that's where you've got to, you know, because if the information isn't known about that GM, right, then you're learning on the go. But obviously, if you've soloed and things, you'll learn quicker, at a quicker rate. Like, it could be just one run. I could learn something within one run and be right. Second run, I know exactly what I'm doing now with this. I got killed by this streaker because of this or that, and I can sort of learn. Whereas other people, it might take them. I mean, having watched the old GMs of a couple of content creators, they used to be stuck on like hours for trees of probabilities and stuff like that. Sabbath and Song, fire team wipes, just wiping over and over and over. And you're like, I'm like, why are they wiping so much? Have they not learned from this? 4 hours in, they still haven't done it. It's like, that's where you need to think outside the box a little bit. Think more simplistic. Don't overcomplicate builds. You're overcomplicating builds these days. However, final shape's going to change the game anyways, so there's going to be a lot more thinking with that. But I'm sure there's going to be some sort of hidden meta within it all, where you just run this on a Titan, you just run this on a Hunter, and there'll be some meta. There definitely will be. You know, there'll be options, and I hope that there is, and I hope it's decent. But there'll be maybe 3 or 4 options that are best in slot, and the rest of it will be just hearsay, because that's generally how it's worked in D2 up until now. So I don't see that really changing, right? I don't see it changing. So we'll just see how that goes. So with this section, we're going to take the snipers first, and we're going to push up. We've got Mountaintop on, remember, and this is going to be a saviour for us, because Lake of Shadows is a terrible GM to me. The reason why is because freshers. Now we can cheese the freshers. This isn't a cheese of the freshers, by the way. So you can do that by despawning them. The thing is, with the fresher cheese, it's that hard to pull off that I don't recommend that you should. I recommend, especially now that we've got Mountaintop, you don't need to. Just do what I'm doing here. So kill the Scions on this side. This will give you absolute cover, whereas the doorway behind me had had a bit of cover, but you get hit. Look at how quickly Mountaintop just demolishes it. And this isn't even Vorpal Weapon, right? Vorpal Weapon works on freshers, correct? I would hope so. I think it does, right? So imagine Vorpal Mountaintop. This is a frenzy one. Although saying that, they're both 15% though, aren't they? So it's exactly the same. So yeah, that's a good melt. That we'll push up a little bit. We're going to pull back because there's another fresher to delete. That's exactly what I was waiting for. Lining the sand mechanic. Once you push so far, a said enemy or ad will spawn. In this case, it's a fresher. So once you push past that corner of that wall, that's when the fresher spawns in. This is the next location to easily kill fresher, because they melt you on GM. They absolute melt you. So we can't have any combat experience with them. We've got to, in a sense, cheese them as well by fighting them like this, because they're that strong in the game. They cheese us, we've got to cheese them back, and that's what that's what it's all about with this, is positioning. Again, Mountaintop's going to deal with them in what, 8-9 shots. That's really good, honestly. It speeds the entire thing up, as opposed to in the past. The best option over the Mountaintop for this was Indebted Kindness for taking down freshers. But I think now Mountaintop's like one of the best things for dealing with freshers now. We'll get a Celestial Fire melee all the way over there. Yeah, it does go that far. That is a prime example of why we use Celestial Fire. I often hear the debate between the Celestial Fire and the Finger Snap melee, and a lot of people prefer the Finger Snap melee. Here's my take on it. You use the Finger Snap melee on Sunbracer build, but for any other solar build you use Celestial Fire because it is stronger in PvE than what the Finger Snap one is. Unless you're doing something really particular with Winter's Guile or something, where I've seen people do that. But for most use cases, solar builds Warlock, use Celestial Fire. Because it's got more range and it adds a debuff. Well, the other one does, but you can debuff further away. Finger Snap ain't doing that. Finger Snap's for the Sunbracer build, but Celestial Fire does also work with Sunbracers as well. But Finger Snap's still overall a little bit better. It guarantees the kill a little bit easier. One of these ads is pushed. I thought we'd killed them all. That's fine. So now here for the Tormentor Skip. This is to remind people, a refresher, how you do it. There's multiple ways you can do this with Heat Rises. You can do it with Strand Shackle. You can do it with Stasis. Make a Stasis wall thing and jump up like that. But this is how we do it. We pop Super, use Icarus Dash up here. We wait for no turn back zone. And then Icarus Dash up. You might need to rewatch that 2 or 3 times because there's a no turn back zone that needs to be reset. You need to manually reset it by stopping halfway. See, you're in an invisible wall and you're sort of passing through it to stop the no turn back zone, and then it starts again. Yeah, you need to refresh that timer. So you need to see the Tormentor Skip again because it's not going to make sense to you exactly how I done it if you are new to this. This was found out ages ago, by the way. This isn't something new. The next exploit for the boss, he's jumping up here. Hunters struggle, but if you're on Strand, it's okay. Titan, Warlock, very good for this. You need to grapple that ledge, and then Icarus Dash onto the roof, and then jump over here. And that's the exploit done. This is going to get an easy solo GM done for people because honestly, since Onslaught came out, I think the engagement with GMs has went down a little bit. But I also think, like I said earlier, we've been playing these GMs for 6 months almost. Right, it's getting on, and we're running the same mods, so people are getting a little tired. Now, I didn't use Mountaintop here much. The reason for that is because the exploit zone, you need to understand it. There's a hard wall just above that ledge. It's a weird exploit. So if you try to do like certain damage, like your melee and stuff, it'll just hit the wall in front of you, the ledge. Now, I was scared of Mountaintop hitting the ledge and knocking me back, because we know that Mountaintop now rocket jumps, right? Well, if I was to hit that ledge, it would knock me off the map and I would lose my run. So I don't recommend you use Mountaintop on this bit, because unless you're absolutely certain it won't knock you back, then fair enough. But to be honest, this boss can be killed in like 5 minutes. We were lucky there with the Solar Knights. So these Solar Knights, sometimes they enrage, sometimes they don't. Like, look at that damage. You see the damage we're doing with the LMG? It was just hitting the wall. That's what I'm referring to. So definitely don't Mountaintop. Try not to. Because you run the risk of falling off map if you do it. So we need to de-aggro this knight. He's aggroed on one location. See, that's what a target like that will do. If they don't know where you are and the ad is aggroed, they'll just keep shooting the last location that you were at. It's the same that goes for when you're in a fire team run and you notice that your fire team member's dead, but their orb is getting smacked from the enemies. Because that's the last location they saw. Right? So they'll keep shooting it, even though it's your orb. You know, or if they haven't seen you, in this case, they'll just keep smacking the other area. So that's kind of good. We need to de-aggro this knight if we can. Or kill if we can. Ideally. He doesn't end up peeking. So it is all RNG with this. I will say that this run, this boss run at least, was a little unlucky with the knight being so aggroed on me, but I can see there was aggroed on one location. Just be careful at any moment's notice. If the solar flames, you need to run, unless you will die. Run out of it quick. We've got a super to use. We'll use a little bit of Hammerhead. Hammerhead's not going to put out the damage, obviously, but I'm just showing you what it's like. It's doing all right though. That's no damage buff, because obviously it's killing tally. So imagine that with target lock. See, that's a use case of target lock is a GM LMG, right? As well, it's a particular role, and like I said, I refer you to the retrofit escapade role that I've been using for ages in GMs, and it's always done well. I mean, if I can solo one cycle a champ with a target lock LMG, does that not mean that it's a good weapon for champs? In my book, it means it's good. Which a Hammerhead would just about one cycle a champ. Now, without debuffs, I'm not sure. We would have to have a look at that. I haven't even got a target lock Hammerhead to test, but it wouldn't quite, but it might make him finishable with a target lock Hammerhead. So if you do get a target lock Hammerhead, keep it as your GM weapon. Yeah, as your GM machine gun. And if you get well, you get a kill and tally one anyways, but if you get a double damage one, also keep that for use case. And obviously that's going to suit you a little bit better for ag clear and stuff. It all depends on what you're doing, right? But solo GM, you want damage. Damage is safety. Quicker you kill an enemy, the safer you are. That's why I always go for damage stuff like Vorpal, Explosive Payload, Frenzy, stuff, perks like this, because they're safer, because you kill the enemy quicker, so that they can't kill you. I think this is really straightforward. That was a solo GM on this. Hope you enjoy. Thank you.